So, as we start to wrap up our studies this semester of sociology, we're ending on social change. We've talked about how so many things matter to us in different ways, and we've talked about inequalities and injustices, and when we have opportunities to make things better. What do we do? What gets us fired up? What gets us willing to contribute? So, first of all, true or false? If you're not fighting for what you want, you do not want it enough. What do you think? Is that true or is that false? A lot of times people say that it's true, but let's play around with the words a little bit. Because does everybody get an opportunity to fight for what they want? No, not everybody has the resources. And thinking about the word fighting, like fighting, you're angry, you're yelling, it's hugely demonstrative. Does that ever work? Like what's effective? What effectively gets people involved and saying, no, I want to create social change. I want to be a part of this. Is there ever a time to be angry? I don't know. It's funny. Maybe you've taken a math class or a science class or classes where there's like answers, like this is the answer. Sociology isn't like that. A lot of times, sociology just creates a lot more questions. So if you don't have the resources for fighting for what you want, then does it mean you don't want it? What if we change the words around? If you're not fighting for what you need, does that change it? What about this? If you're not fighting for what others need, you do not want it enough. If you're not fighting for what others need, maybe this is something that you don't have to struggle with. Maybe this isn't your stressor, your terror, your problem, right? You have privilege in whatever area. But if you're not willing to fight or make social change for what others need, you don't want it enough. Thinking about motivation. What gets us motivated? Okay, here's another one. True or false? Nobody's going to come to the meeting unless they have a reason to come to the meeting. What gets people involved, engaged, and feeling like they want to be a part of creating social change? So it's funny when I will say this to classrooms full of students, they'll be like, some people will be like, false. And I'm like, do you go to a lot of meetings you don't want to go to? And they're like, well, for work. And I'm like, well, then that's your reason. But most people say true. Yeah, they're not going to the meeting unless they have a reason to come to the meeting. So then I ask the question, how do you get people to come to a meeting when they don't have a reason? And everybody yells out the same thing, food. And then I ask, what kind of food? And pretty much there's sometimes variations, but I would say about 92% of the time, pizza. Okay. Do you want the pizza people? Do you want the people that just came for the free pizza? And everybody's like, no. And I was like, well, but do you? Like, how do we learn about the injustices? How do we learn about what is needed in the world? How do you motivate somebody to say, no, this is not okay. I want to be a part of this. And if that pizza person, the person coming seeking out the free piece of pizza, they're going to be polite and you get an opportunity to try and engage them and say, hey, I wanted to educate you. I wanted to let you know. And if you're compelling enough, they might go, oh my gosh, let me sit down. Let me stay for this meeting. I know all these resources. And maybe they're the best new volunteer that you could possibly ever imagine. But thinking again, how do you get motivated? What gets people involved? Nobody's coming to the meeting. So then how do you give them a reason to come to the meeting? So other ways to become an activist. Decide what is just not okay with you. Like you are fired up, your heart is beating faster, and it just needs to change. And be a voracious learner. Continue to learn about the issue in all different aspects. Finding your other people, maybe it's the pizza people even, but like teaming up and finding others and being organized and making a plan. And then reaching out and trying to engage and get more help, talking and trying to engage people with, spreading the word and letting them know what's going on. Not only learning about the issue, but staying up to date about the issue. Oftentimes, issues facing, injustices facing individuals are ever changing. And so making sure that you stay knowledgeable. Social change sometimes takes generations. And so celebrating small victories and not giving up. Um, the women's right to vote, and not all women received the right to vote at the same time. We act like it, but it was really just white women at the time. But that was from the 1850s to the 1920s. It was a 70-year campaign for social change. 70 years. It was a lifetime. And a lot of times, possibly some of the things that we're contributing to trying to be creating social change, they might be not now, but might be in our next lifetime. Possibly the environment, right? Possibly socioeconomic inequalities, possibly like medical crises. Many of us who have had a family member impacted by medical crises, it's important to us to create social change and to fundraise and to learn and to see about what we can do so that other people don't have to endure it. But thinking about becoming an activist, not everybody's comfortable with that. And that's completely understandable. And we're going to be talking in a few minutes about what we all can do, activist minded or not. But thinking about what would get you motivated, what would get you to go, no, no, this has to stop.